Good morning, welcome to another video. Today I'm just just come across the border into Spain, and today's video is about unplugging from alcohol and embracing the unknown. The more I understand about life, the more I realize how much there is to know and how little I really know, right? How little I can ever really know. If I lived 1,000 lifetimes, the more I learn, the more the circle of my knowledge expands, the bigger my understanding of how massive that circle of the unknown really is. You know, the amount of stuff that I don't know or I'll never know. It's not funny. And that's just not for me, that's for humans in general. You know, the more we understand, the more we see out there that there is to understand. You know, what's funny really when I look back on my own life is how much I thought I knew, right? How much I was sure I knew when I was younger, but also how much of a complete front that was, right? Do you get that? I mean, it's totally understandable that the younger you are, the more that you think you know. And I thought I knew everything. And there was, you know, when you're at 18 and you leave the house and your knowledge is what your knowledge is. How foolish we are at that age in reality. You know, the alcohol companies, they love that. They love the fact that we're the foolishness of youth mixed with the delusion of total understanding. Have you ever noticed how the alcohol adverts are always aimed at the young, the impressionable? You know, the ones who are out to prove how grown up they actually are by doing things that really show how close to childhood they still are. And I'm not attacking kids here. We all have, you know, we've all got to go through that phase. You know, some people grow up quicker than others. You know, I've heard that women grow up quicker than men, and I think in some ways that's true. But it depends on which parts of life that we're talking about, right? I think we all mature in different ways, and a lot depends on what we've got to gain by that learning. And also a lot depends on what we've got to lose by that learning. You know, there's some things that are physical that women learn just a whole lot quicker than men because, you know, in certain circumstances when we're getting down to the reality of things, the life depends on it, you know. And it's the same thing with men. I mean, I used to put myself into some dodgy situations when I was younger because I thought I knew everything. Because I thought that, you know, you have a mixture of that invincibility of youth with stupidity, you know. So it's all part of the process of growing up though, right? I have a theory myself about this, that maybe if we went into adulthood without having that sense of knowing all the answers, that sense of invincibility, that we'd crawl up into a ball and we'd never leave home, you know. You know, if we knew the wildness of what the world is really like in reality, especially people. You know, maybe that's one of the reasons why teenagers never listen to their parents. You know, if they really listened and they really understood, well, you know, would they ever have the courage to go leave the home and do their own thing? So we rely on the younger generations to build themselves into people that are going to take over from us. And I'm sure every generation looks at its youth, at the generations that are coming up behind them or in front of them, whichever way you want to look at it, and they think, these people have lost the fucking plot. Now, how is the world going to survive what these people have got coming to us, you know? And each generation thinks that, I think. You know, I think each generation thinks, no, but, you know, our generation, that's really true. Have you seen what the kids are learning these days? Have you seen what they're teaching these kids in the schools? I think that's part of the process as well. I hope it is part of the process, right? Because we're all screwed otherwise. The older I get, the more I realize what's really important in life as well, you know. I think that's another part of things. You know, you take everything is complicated when you're younger, and as you get older, the things that are important, the most important to you, become very simple, right? I think that lesson comes often too late for some people, which is a shame. You know, this is something that really hit home for me only when I got sober. And I'm talking about this from the perspective of, when you're drinking, it's, can you see these two? Look. You can't see them, but you can hear them. When you're drinking, it's a very selfish act. You're inside yourself, you're inside your own brain. And people look at it like it's socializing, but I never truly understood what socializing was until I stopped drinking alcohol. I never truly understood what I had in the people in my life until I stopped drinking alcohol, and I started focusing not only on myself, but outside of myself. And that, it sounds a very selfish and self-conceited thing, and it was, but in my own defense and in defense of a drinker, that conceitedness is a natural outflow of what you're doing with the alcohol. You put in alcohol, you're living your life in this drugged up state. And, it doesn't have to be all the time, because the effects of what you're doing in the moment, that carries on with you throughout the rest of your life. So even if you're drinking at the weekends, that state of mind, that understanding that this is what I'm doing, this is how I live my life, this is how I socialize, this is how I relax, that carries on in your brain throughout the rest of the week. So, if you're a drinker for all your life, that mentality carries on throughout your life. So, for me, family is the most important thing in my life. I didn't deliberately have a family, right? By luck or grace or whatever. I have my family. I was born into a big family, so I was the second child of 9. There was 4 boys, then 2 girls, then another boy, and then 2 more girls. That middle boy, I tell you, it's lucky he's not wearing dresses and stuff, but I'm glad I was born where I was born in the family. But a big family, being born into a big family has got its own blessings. I didn't realize that at the time. When there's not much money, dinner time can be a bit of a zoo, but there's also many benefits I think there's a lot of benefits being brought up in a poor house. There's a lot of disadvantages as well, but it is what it is in life. Anyway, I'm very nostalgic for and about my own childhood. My son wasn't planned, when I'm talking about my own family. I didn't have to do much work for him before he was born, just look after his mum a little bit, go out to work, do all that kind of stuff. But she did most of all the heavy lifting, really. But once he was born, he became the best thing that ever happened to me, right? The best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And he gave me a very much needed, immediate meaning in my life, and one that continues to this day. And when I'm talking about an immediate meaning, I'm talking about just for this life. People are looking for the meaning of life. What does it all mean? What does being born here mean? What's afterwards? What's all that? But I think in life, sometimes the immediate meaning that you can find, the immediate why you're doing this, why you're going to work, why you're getting up in the morning, that, can come from many different places. And for me, it came from my son, having my son. So I appreciate that aspect of my life. I appreciate him, I appreciate my granddaughter, and that relationship more and more every day. The older I get, I think the more that you appreciate the relational things in life, the people in your life, and how much they do affect you. So I think families give a sense of belonging, they give a sense of support, of love, and they most certainly shape our identity and our influence and our growth as we mature into adults. And not always in a good way, but that's part of the balance of life as well, no? I think you're sent out into the world as an unfinished article, right? Even though, the foundations have already been laid and solidly laid, very solid foundations by the time you leave home. Some say that those foundations are laid by the time you're 4 or 5 or 6 years old and your personality is set. But it's when you leave home, when you escape the nest, that you really get to build on those foundations, right? And that's the biggest responsibility of life, I think. And it's up to you what you do. It's up to you how you live your life. All the choices are now yours. All the decisions are now yours, as are the trade-offs. You know, so you make a decision, and any consequence of that decision is also on you. So when you stand at that crossroads of decision making, especially regarding alcohol, it's often the unknown that holds us back, right? There's a course that we've got, the Beginner's Guide to Unplugging from Alcohol, and it offers you that first glimpse into what I think is a very much clearer and a brighter existence that's waiting for you on the other side of that door once you step across that threshold, right? And this guide lays down some very basic concepts that we cover in the Habits V2 program. It kind of gives you a gentle nudge towards understanding what's waiting for you when you unplug from alcohol, and helps you to start dissolving some of your apprehensions, the apprehensions that are clouding your progress, that are stopping you from making that progress. So the links are in the description below for both the guide and the full Habits V2 program. And you know, one of the beauties of life is that, as I said at the beginning, the future is a mystery. It's something that has to be feared because you're heading into unknown territory. So there's, you know, it's a good thing to be fearing that kind of stuff. But it's also something to be embraced as well, you know. Embracing the unknown isn't just about exploring what the world outside of you has to offer, right? What the world outside of you has to give you, but also digging within, right? Digging into the infinite universe within yourself, if you like, you know. I've learned so much about myself by exploring those inner depths. And usually when I'm out here walking with the boys, exploring these mountains, you know, and as you step away from that veil of alcohol, the fog of alcohol, you should be prepared to find a lot of unexplored territory within yourself. So I'm happy to share this with you today. I know it's another bit of a ramble, but there you go. Sometimes that's what comes out. Take care of yourself. All the best for your journey ahead. Onwards and upwards, eh? Bye now.